Well, let's just say this, right? What are the negative effects of those habits? So what are the negative effects of just scrolling needlessly? Well, really, what we're asking here is what are the negative effects of addiction? Because what is TikTok? TikTok and why reels are a thing, why everyone's starting to adapt the mindless scrolling is just what I just said, the word mindless. Everyone's looking for an escape, right? Everyone's looking for an escape of reality. Why? Because we've become so weak as a society. We've become so weak as individuals, as human beings. We don't understand how to actually face reality and to have the strength to actually take life's challenges with strength, right? With dignity. So what we do as human beings, and again, addiction has been around from the beginning of time. Let's not act like this is something new. Just because it's TikTok doesn't mean it's some new challenge. The challenge being TikTok and mindless brain rot scrolling. Yes, it's disgusting. Yes, it's a practice that everyone should be very aware of to stay away from it. And as we post this, obviously people will be on TikTok listening to this. So one thing everyone should understand, TikTok and all these apps are made to keep you scrolling. And we know that. But this comes down to a business principle. The most profitable business in the world is addiction. There is no more profitable business in the world than addiction. If I can get you addicted to my product, I am going to make billions and billions and billions of dollars. And if my product is TikTok, it's attention. If my product is alcohol, if my product is cigarettes, even if my product is cereal, sugary substances, the most profitable businesses in the world are in the business of addiction. Pornography is addiction. These things, video games, these companies are in the business of getting recurring revenue. What's the most important and the best form of recurring revenue is to get my consumer hooked as an addict on my product. So understand, these businesses do not have your best interest in mind. Clearly they don't. They just want to keep you around and keep enough revenue and attention just so you have enough so that you keep coming back. Because let's just say, one of the most black and white scenarios there is a drug dealer. If I'm a drug dealer, do I want to kill my clients? No, I don't. I want them to stay alive, and I want them to stay alive just enough so they keep coming back for more. That's the business that is the most profitable thing in the world, to have recurring revenue. So TikTok, Instagram, they do not have our best interest in mind. They want, with everything in their power, to get you to keep coming back, which is employing tactics like a mindless scroll to get you to keep coming back for more and more and more, to get you dopamine, right? To set off your dopamine receptors over and over and over again. So it just becomes this mindless scroll where you just lost an hour of your day just scrolling. But what's important for everyone to understand here is we could just have a conversation and just go dive deep into TikTok and like, TikTok's evil. Well, is TikTok inherently evil? No. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of great benefits of TikTok. There's a lot of great benefits of YouTube and social media. You can use it as a tool for your benefit. Just like everything else, in moderation, right? Is sugar bad? No, our body runs on glucose. So sugar is clearly not a overall evil thing. However, sugar can become something that is addictive. Things that are, usually the best for us also have a factor where they can become addictive. They can become something in excess. Okay? So when we're having a conversation about TikTok, it's really easy for me to say, TikTok's evil, everyone should stay off TikTok forever. No, as a matter of fact, what you can do is you can train the algorithms and the TikTok algorithms to show you what you want by finding, searching, and liking the content that you want to use. Because there's a lot of things that I've learned. There's a lot of things I get updates on from TikTok, from X, from social media. There's a huge benefit of having a platform like this where you get to hear different opinions. You actually get to hear real insight news and not have it controlled through a source like CNN or Fox News or any of these corrupt media sources. So are there benefits to social media and TikTok? As a matter of fact, there are incredible benefits. to TikTok and social media. It provides a platform for people to speak. It provides a platform for messages to get across to millions of people in an instant. Of course, that's a double-edged sword. But the real conversation that we need to have here is addiction. Because what is addiction? Addiction is the antithesis of control. It is the opposite of control. Addiction is the opposite of control. It is the opposite of order. If you are addicted to something, it means you are no longer in control. You no longer possess the power of order over that thing. So if I use these tools for my benefit and I am in control of it, then I am not addicted. But if it has control over me, then I have lost control. I have lost order in that thing. Let's just take this for what it's worth, the face value of addiction. The battle over our minds, over our souls, is who has control. If you are a servant of God, if you're a servant of Jesus Christ, then you are taught to be in control of your own soul, of your own destiny, to make your own choice with your own power and your own agency. It is only evil forces that would seek to have dominion and power over you. And what people want to do is they want to take whatever's addictive and say, stay away from it. Stay away from it. And that is a tactic that can be used. However, the most important thing for someone to understand, if you have an addiction, there are 2 steps to overcoming addiction. If you have an addiction, whatever it is, whether it's pornography, social media addiction, whether it's drug addiction, alcohol addiction, any form of addiction has 2 steps. First step is control. Is seeking to take control over that thing. The second is distance. And I'll explain that. Number 1, if you are addicted, how do you overcome your addiction? Are you addicted to TikTok? Are you addicted to pornography? Are you addicted to, alcohol, whatever it is? The number 1 most important aspect of understanding addiction is to understand who's in control. And by taking control, by taking recognition of the fact that you are not in control and that you become the determining factor of how often it is used and for what reason it is used, then you're in control and that thing can remain in your life. And obviously, one thing that actually is one of my most popular videos on YouTube is when we had a conversation about pornography. I've been shocked to see how many young men struggle with pornography. And honestly, I shouldn't be shocked because it is the plague of today's generation. Pornography is everywhere. Pornography is all over. It is constantly being thrown in your face. So how do you control yourself as a man or even as a woman? How do you control yourself when it comes to an addiction of pornography? Well, is an attraction to women, is an attraction inherently bad? Is sex in of itself inherently bad? No. Now, those who are on the extreme side will say, stay away from it, never go outside, hear no evil, see no evil, monkey see, monkey do, all that stuff. Well, that's an extreme measure that can be taken. But what's more important is to remain in control of yourself, to remain in control of your own thoughts, emotions, and at the end of the day, actions. The actions you allow yourself to partake in. By giving into these things, whether it's TikTok, whether it's any form of addiction like pornography, who has control? And how do you establish control? Someone listening to this is probably like, okay, that's no shit. Okay, who's in control? So how do you establish control? How do you take control over your life when it comes to any form of addiction? Again, sex or in sexual desires, is that bad? No, you should have sexual desires, but you should have that controlled and channeled to your spouse. And only with your spouse. Anything outside of that, you have lost control. You are no longer using it for the purpose and power it was intended to be used for. So how do you establish control? The number 1 and the only way to establish control and to start taking control of your life, whether it's in some form of addiction, is rituals and disciplines. By establishing certain rituals, by establishing certain disciplines, you draw lines in what is acceptable versus what is not acceptable. You must draw a line, and a ritual, a practice, a schedule, a discipline is a practice of drawing a line. Drawing a line when it comes to social media. Having a discipline, a ritual practice with social media is giving yourself a time frame. Is actually utilizing social media for your benefit, saying, I am on TikTok for this reason, as opposed to just mindlessly wasting time pulling up TikTok and scrolling. Or from a more dramatic perspective that some people might get, weird having a conversation with, is when it comes to sexual preference, if we're having a conversation about pornography, if you feel an attraction that is building up inside of you, then you must have a ritual and a practice to pull your mind out of that process of thought. Because addiction, being the antithesis of control, being the anti-control, is a form of chaos. It is what we call a spiral, a loop where you lose control of your own mind and action by a slow, progressive allowance and a phased downward spiral into something deeper and darker. This is why we call it the spiral of addiction, because it's not just the spiral of addiction, it's the spiral of chaos. And this can be applied to anything we lose control over. So if it comes to pornography, if it comes to TikTok, or it comes to alcohol, whatever the person listening to this, or you or anyone else struggles with, the only way to control it is to establish rituals and practices to keep yourself from the chaos, to keep yourself from the darkness. This is also why it's a practice of religion to have certain rituals as a remembrance, as a way to keep ourselves centered on the path of light and truth. If you want to escape the darkness, which another way to describe darkness is chaos, if you want to escape the chaos, you must ritualistically establish yourself with practices and disciplines that keep you centered, that keep you aligned with light and truth and in control. Again, this is why having religion and having structure in religion is so important. Having structure in your life, having a schedule, having a clear, concise, intention-driven life is so important. Someone who is focused has intention. Someone who just mindlessly scrolls has no intention. This is the power of focus. This is the power of thought, intention, and discipline to take order and control in your life. So if someone struggles with pornography, or they struggle with TikTok or whatever it is, you must, there's no other choice, you must establish rituals. And it must be religious. You must be obsessed over your rituals. They must become your religion in a sense. That these things you do and always hold to in a remembrance to keep yourself from falling into the loops and chaos and darkness that would seek to ensnare you. So that is number one. When I say the first phase of overcoming addiction is control. The second phase is the one that people typically speak of when they talk about how do I overcome addiction, is the secondary phase of overcoming addiction is space, distance. If you struggle over and over and over again to overcome pornographic addictions, alcohol, drug use, whatever it is social media, mindless scrolling, whatever we're talking about, and you try and you keep falling back in, well, the answer is simple. You must distance yourself from it. An alcoholic who constantly keeps falling into alcohol, one of the easiest ways for them to fall in is just to have it readily available. If it's in the home, if it's readily available, then you're going to fall in. If you distance yourself from it and not have it around, there's no way for you to even access the alcohol or the pornography or the easy access to social media, then you're not going to have as much of a struggle. It is the mindless encirclement that has you slowly fall into addiction. So if it's easily available on my phone, where I can just click the app, and by the way, this is how social media wants it to be. They want it to be the first thing on your phone. They want you to click and the scroll automatically begins. They want you to just only one swipe and just immediate dopamine. That's what they want. The more simplistic and easily accessible they can make the product, the more they know you will fall into that trap. So if you're addicted to food or sugar and you're fat, obese, overweight, and you have a pantry full of ding dongs and Twinkies and shit like that, you are clearly in a state where you cannot afford to have it near you. You must be rid of it and get rid of the access. By simply having the addiction or the thing that you struggle with close to you, you are just asking to continue to fall back in. And so at the end of the day, the secondary, and honestly, the only other two ways to overcome addiction, we talk about distance, it comes down to simple willpower. Can you throw it away? Can you delete the app? Do you really want to overcome this addiction, or do you just kind of want to? If you really want to overcome the addiction, you would be rid of it. You would get rid of it. You would burn it. You would never allow it to enter your home. You would never even step into the presence of it. You would keep yourself at distance from it. By the way, this is the word of being sacred. The word sacre in Latin actually means to cut off, to be separate from. So if I consider myself sacred, or I hold myself in a high enough level of dignity and sacredness to separate myself from earthly and evil things, then I will not allow them into my life. I will not allow them even to come close to me, because I am sanctified. I am sacred. This is actually why I tell people that pride is actually important. People talk about pride, and we could go on a whole subject on this. I speak about it all the time. People say, oh, pride is evil. I'm like, actually, no. Pride, when founded in light and truth, when I take pride in who I am as a son of God, then I look at things as beneath me. This is what we call dignity. If I walk with pride, I walk with my shoulders back with a proud sense of who I am. I walk and carry myself with dignity. I walk and I carry myself with pride in who I am in light and truth. Pride in of itself is not bad. Pride must be founded in truth. If your pride is founded in anything else other than light and truth, then yes, it will be your downfall. But if pride is founded in what is true, and it is founded in correct principles, then it is your anchor that will keep you safe. When I see myself as better than these things, then I will not allow them into my presence. People say that's snobbish. And you know what people like to say to you, like, "What, do you think you're too good for us now?" What's the old cliche of your friends who, you're trying to be a better person. You've got these friends who keep pulling you into these bad ways. And then when you try to separate yourself from these friends, the old cliche that they always throw at you in the movies or whatever it is, well, you think you're too good for us? The truth is, you must look at them in the eye and say, yes, I am too good for you. Yes, I am better than you. And they'll say, oh, he's just full of his own ego and pride. Damn right. I'm full of ego. I'm full of pride, which is why I will no longer stoop to your level of disgraced action. I will never stoop to your level of, what's this word I'm looking for? Not degradation, but degeneracy. I will never stoop to your level of degeneracy in action again. I am better than you. I am better than this life. I am better than the things around me. I'm better than that. And because I know who I am, because I know I'm better than that, I won't allow myself to be near you. You do not deserve to be near me, because I have dedicated myself as something sacred, as something that is holy. You know what we call that, by the way? We call it to be sainted. This is what it means when we say the Latter-day Saints. To be a saint of Christ is to separate yourself from the world. This is what Jesus Christ meant when he said, "You are in the world, but not of the world." The world will hate you if you are of me, but it will always love its own. The world will care and love for its own, but if you are of Christ, you must be hated of the world because you're better than this world. This is a fallen and evil place. And if you don't see yourself as better than it, then you will fall into its traps, into its snares. You must be better. And by nature of being better, you must be full of pride and dignity. And in order to be full of pride and dignity, you must look at things as beneath you. So yes, I have no problem looking at those in my life and telling them I'm better than you. And you do not deserve to be in my life because I have consecrated myself for a sacred and holy purpose. And for that reason, I will not allow these degenerate and evil things to be in my life. It does not deserve to be in my presence because I am better than it. I am of a holier and more sacred order. And that order is the order and discipline, the discipleship of Christ. And when I carry myself in that discipleship, I walk with a higher standard. You do not meet your goals in life, you only meet your standards. And your standards must be of the highest order and caliber. So to overcome addiction, I can help anyone overcome any addiction. And I'll do it simply by teaching them who they really are. I'll teach them who they really are, and I'll teach them to walk with pride. Because then they would never stoop to the level of degeneracy that they have ever stooped to before. If you think of someone who is lost in chaos, lost in addiction, how do they carry themselves? Typically in a dark state. They obviously, look at a druggie walking down. Man, are they just lost? The chaos of their mind has clearly overtaken their mind. Just this hunched over, this disgusting way of life. And we know it. That is what addiction would have us become. That is what Satan wants. He wants to destroy you. And if he can destroy you, he will destroy the vision that God has given you. He will destroy you. So what is the opposite of that? How does God teach us to then instead walk with shame and guilt and darkness and God teaches us to walk with strength, honor, and pride. And this is one thing that we could have a week-long conversation on this topic alone. But if someone wants to overcome addiction, if someone wants to simply step out of the chaos, the key to this is to know who you are, to walk with pride, and to establish yourself, to walk with an aura of sacredness, that you are better than this world. You are better than the degeneracy that others have allowed themselves to become. So yes, if someone tells you, and again, we talk about the cliche, if you're around a bunch of buddies who drink and you want to get away from them, they're going to start saying, well, you think you're too good for us now? You must have the strength to look them in the eye and say, yes, I am too good for you. I am too good for your degeneracy. I am too good for this because I know who I am. I have taken upon myself the yoke of Christ. I have taken upon myself a higher order, a higher standard of life, and I am no longer willing to give myself to dark and degenerate ways. I forever will give myself to a higher and holier purpose in the kingdom of God. I am better than this world. I am better than those around me. People want to say, that's not very Christ-like. As a matter of fact, it's the most Christ-like thing. Because that is what Christ would have of us, is to walk a holier path. To call others to walk with us. That is Christ-like. That's Christianity. That is the higher and holier purpose, to be a saint of the discipline of Jesus Christ, or to be a disciple of Christ, is to be better than this world. You are not of the world. You are in the world, but not of the world. You are called to be higher, to be better, to be holier. And for that, the world will hate you, because the world is fallen. And if you are to rise above this world, then you must reject it. So that's a long answer that, again, we could dive into for hours and hours. And I love speaking on this. But if we're having a conversation about overcoming addiction, then the conversation is a higher conversation than that. I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody, oh, what you want to do is set 20 minutes in the morning and only let yourself do that and then delete the app after those 20 minutes. Dude, maybe that's what you need right now. That's fine, but that's not going to fix it in the end. In the end, what's really going to fix it is for me to teach you who you really are. And for you to come to an acceptance of that calling. Because the calling of Christ is to walk a higher path. It is to be better. It is to repent and to put off your old ways. What is the meaning of baptism? When we're baptized, the old version of us is dead. It is a symbolism of the death of the old you and the resurrection and the newer version of a holier and more pure version of who you really are. And the sacrament, the sacrament, the sacredness, it is to remind you that you are separate, that you are a saint, that you are better than this world. And too many people forget that. Most don't even know this. They think of the ritual as the actual saving grace. It's not the actual saving grace. It is a reminder of the practice of who you really are and how you are called to live your life.